The kid already ate like a horse, and it was only getting worse. Snatching up her bag, she took a final glance around the room. The kitchen was a bit of a mess from the morning's cereal bowls, but otherwise it wasn't too much of a disaster zone. Well, so long as you ignored the overflowing recycling bin and the pile of laundry she'd dumped onto the couch while Deanna demanded she find her missing lucky socks. "Miller family, roll out." She held the door open as the kids trooped past her, the twins' heads bowed toward their cell phones as they tapped furiously with their thumbs. "Oliver, Georgie, Deanna. Where's Jane?" Georgie snorted and lifted her head for the briefest second. "She left for college a year ago." "Oh, yeah." Audrey shook her head as she locked the front door. She was so hardwired to count to 4 when checking on her siblings that she'd momentarily forgotten Jane had already flown out of the nest. Flown all the way to Duke, in fact, and was living her best life far away from Kissing Creek, a town with a stupid name and an even stupider reputation for celebrating all things romantic. "All present and accounted for. Let's go." Audrey hoisted her bag up onto her shoulder and caught Oliver mock-saluting her out of the corner of her eye. She unlocked her car, affectionately known as Big Red. Not because at one time in the mid-90s it had been a vibrant shade of vermilion, but because it had big red rust patches on both back panels. Sure, it wasn't pretty, but Big Red was about the most reliable thing in Audrey's life, and she'd drive the damn thing until the wheels fell off. "What's our fact for the day?" Deanna asked as she took her place in the front seat beside Audrey. That was always the rule. Littlest kid gets the front seat on the first day of school. "Oh, no, I forgot to look up a fact." Audrey started the engine and eased the car away from the curb. "No, you didn't." Deanna stuck a bony elbow into Audrey's side. "Tell us. We have to learn." "Isn't that what you're supposed to do at school?" Audrey glanced at her little sister, trying to hide the smirk tugging at her lips. She was a miniature version of their mother. With her chipper personality and thirst for knowledge, Deanna even resembled her, with long blonde hair and blue eyes so big she looked like a cartoon character. Audrey had also inherited the long blonde hair, but instead of blue eyes, she'd gotten a rich olive green from her dad. She'd also skipped out on her mother's naturally lean figure, too. "It would be if the teachers actually knew anything." Georgie chimed in from the back seat with her signature teenage drawl. "I don't know where they find half of those idiots, I swear." Audrey narrowed her eyes at the rearview mirror. She couldn't fully disagree, since there'd been a number of teachers with questionable education skills back when she was a kid, but she didn't want Georgie scaring Deanna off on her first day of high school. "You're right, Dee. I do have a fact." Distraction. That was her go-to technique. Deanna pumped her fist into the air. "My brain is ready." Oliver chuckled from the back seat, but didn't look up from his phone. Georgie listened on with interest, however. Despite her attachment to electronic devices and her generally sullen attitude, she was a sponge for information. "You're twice as likely to be killed by a vending machine than a shark," Audrey said. She'd looked up that fact first thing that morning, when the house was still quiet and she'd had her coffee and breakfast in a rare moment of peace. "No way." Deanna wrinkled her nose. "How does anyone get killed by a vending machine?" "Darwinism?" Georgie joked. "Actually, she's kind of right," Audrey replied. "There was one guy who shook a vending machine so hard, it toppled over and crushed him to death." After debating the silliest ways to die, top contenders included peeing on an electric fence, trying to hand-feed an alligator, and driving with your eyes closed, Audrey pulled Big Red up.